Case file number 3478, written by Melzilla79. After dark in Santa Cruz. As soon as it got dark, I felt like someone was watching me. No matter where I went or what I was doing, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I mentioned this to my mom a few days later. She went pale and told me to sit down, then told me a wild story. When I was around a year old, my parents decided to spend the day at the boardwalk. It got dark and the wind kicked up, and Mom felt cold, so she told my father it was time to go. He had her wait with me while he walked back to where the car was parked and then drove over to pick us up. While she was waiting for him, holding me, a tall, pale man with long black hair approached us. Mom said he was striking, beautiful, but he instantly made her feel uncomfortable. He told her, "Your child is very special. May I hold her?" My mother, of course, refused, but he cut her off and said, "No, you don't understand. Your child is very special. I need to hold her. Please, please, let me hold her." When he stepped closer and reached for me, and she finally got a clear look at him in the streetlight, her heart nearly stopped. Everything in her screamed, "Not human!" He grabbed me and tried to rip me out of her arms, and Mom started screaming for help. This was the early 80s, so instead of standing around filming, the people around her actually helped. The man turned and fled, and my mom said he moved so fast that it wasn't natural. It was like he just disappeared in front of her. I asked her what she thought he was, and she stared directly into my soul and softly said, "You know, I'm a Christian, and I would never admit this to most people, but, honey, that man was a vampire. I'm sure of it. Don't ever stay in Santa Cruz after dark ever again." She made me promise, and I've kept that promise. My mom is a very religious person. She would never normally say anything like that or admit to believing in such a thing. But that explains why I found books about vampires on her bookshelf as a kid. I was shocked when I found them. This woman legit reads the Bible every night before bed and fast forwards through kissing scenes on TV. She was specifically looking at legends from our area. I think she was trying to figure out who or what he was. So, some people truly do have a darkness in them. I don't know if actual monsters exist, supernatural style where you have ghouls, werewolves, and shapeshifters, vampires in this case. It's kind of interesting to ponder on, but I'm more set in stone when it comes to traditional glitches and paranormal things like ghosts. Absolutely believe those exist, spirits, maybe demons and UFOs, aliens specifically. Not just unidentified flying objects. I mean, obviously those exist by definition. So I think the world would be more interesting, you could say, if vampires and ghouls and, the classic monsters really exist. I'm not convinced they do. But in this story specifically, I would say, if this man isn't a vampire, then something is truly messed up with him. Wonder what he meant by, "Your baby is special." Well, I wonder, but I don't really want to know. Keep those thoughts behind iron bars, ideally. Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. Today I have 12 Glitch in the Matrix and paranormal stories for you. My favorite story involves hot food. Let's get to it. Case file number 3479, written by Consistent Earth 7553. The Woman Over Orange Skies. This happened during the fires in the Bay Area on September 9th, 2020. Definitely recommend looking it up. That day was when the skies were dark to Mars orange from the fires, and it was so orange and dark at noon. I went to Home Depot to pick up some wood with my significant other. While standing in line to pay, I noticed an extremely gaunt, sick woman, almost ghoulish, walking from the far end of the wood aisle past us out the front door. She wore a black tank top with a distinct colorful floral hanky with a distinct pattern around the top of her head, with curly black hair keeping her hair in place. She had a very distinct face with a sharp nose, and I watched her walk out of the entrance. I swear to this day, it wasn't even 3 seconds when I turned my head to look down the far end of the wood aisle and I saw the exact same woman, same pants, shoes, black tank top, hanky with the same distinct floral pattern, keeping her black curly hair in place, and the same distinct face with a sharp nose, same body shape, height, the same walk and pace, except she was not gaunt or sick, healthy looking, walking to the entrance. I did a double take and looked immediately to the entrance as it was one of those large warehouse doors, and it wasn't even a few seconds when I tried to see the ghoulish woman, as one could see very far out into the parking lot, and it takes a moment to get to the parking lot, but did not see her. Note that I saw a man and his son walking out of the entrance at the same time as the ghoulish woman, and when I did a double take to find the ghoulish woman again, the man and child were still there, a few feet further walking towards a car. I swear that ghoulish woman would be there. She was walking at the same pace as the man and child, but she wasn't there. I thought there must be twins, but the motion and timing of the way the ghoulish woman and the healthy woman walked from the far end of the aisle to the entrance was like rewatching a video. My significant other noticed how I reacted and asked me what happened, and I told her you won't believe me even if I told you. I asked her if she saw a ghoulish woman walk by, and she said no, only the healthy woman with a distinct floral pattern hanky, as it was really something. I turned around and almost asked the person behind me the same question if they saw what I saw, but stopped myself from asking. I chalked it up to because it was a strange orange day. I was tired from work, lack of sleep. I work in utilities, so long hours, and thinking it was me hallucinating. But I later read that I may have seen a doppelganger or a future vision of someone who is soon to die. All I will say, it was a surreal experience. Case file number 3480, written by Usual Code 5926. They were waiting. My boyfriend and I were driving through these empty, winding back roads in rural Pennsylvania on Route 447. Near Stroudsburg. There was nothing but blackness for miles. No houses, no lights, just pitch dark countryside. The kind of dark that swallows your headlights. The only signs of life were the animals, deer darting across the road, foxes skittering at the edges, rabbits frozen in the beams. It felt like we were driving through nature's night shift. Because of the constant movement, I kept my high beams on and crawled along slowly to avoid hitting anything. Then, out of nowhere, we saw a car approaching from the opposite direction. As it got closer, it started flashing its high beams at us. I figured I was being that guy who forgot to turn his brights off, so I switched them off. But the driver kept flashing, over and over. At first I was annoyed, like, alright dude, chill, I got the message. I ignored it and kept driving. Then we came up to this bridge, old, narrow, and completely unlit. And that's when we saw it. Something was in the middle of the road. At first it looked like an overturned trash can or some kind of debris. But as we got closer, and I flicked the high beams back on, we realized it wasn't an object, it was a person. A woman. She was sitting crisscross dead center in the road, completely still. Her skin was ghost pale, sickly looking, almost like it was melting off her bones. Her mouth hung open, eyes black and glazed over, just staring. Blank, empty. Behind her, off to the side, was a man, just as emaciated, just as pale, sitting on the guardrail and watching her silently. I slowed down instinctively, but as I saw the man, a wave of dread hit me. This is a setup. My brain went straight to survival mode. If I stop, he's going to pull out a weapon. They're going to rob us or worse. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Are they trying to trap people? Is she bait? Are they trying to get hit? Are we about to get ambushed? I couldn't take the chance. I swerved, trying not to hit her, sped past them both, and the man on the guardrail shifted just enough to let us through. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I just drove. But I cannot unsee her face. I've never seen a human being look like that in real life, only in horror movies. And not even the basic slasher stuff. This was more like The Exorcist horror. Completely surreal. Totally out of place in the real world. Even now I keep wondering, what were they doing there? Why was he watching her like that? Why didn't they move? What was that? I still don't know, but whatever it was, it didn't feel human. So, today we have so many stories about people that just don't seem right. In this case, a woman and a man just standing in the road oddly. Yeah, there definitely are cases where people obstruct a road. They lay down cones or spikes or just tree branches or whatever. They create an obstruction, or they even pretend to be injured so you'll stop and help and be robbed and stuff like that. But that doesn't usually happen in the US, as far as I know. Still, it could in theory. Was that what was happening here? Given how you described the man moving, I don't think so. But the solution to what they were actually doing, you can only imagine the nefarious things that people can get up to. Was she there voluntarily? Also, drugs could be involved. That often can explain a lot of things, so we can probably chalk it up to that. There's a lot of weird things that happen that normal people do in the very rural places of the country. Case file number 3481, written by Baddest Doggo. The Shy Cat Complex. I have 2 cats. One outgoing and cuddly, and the other one shy and timid. The shy one hides a lot, and every once in a while, she'll find a place she thinks is a good new hiding place and then can't get out of, and after a while she'll start to cry. So this one day, I haven't seen her for a while, and I can faintly hear her crying. I search all over for her, and I'm starting to get concerned because I can't find her. Finally, my boyfriend opens a dresser drawer and she leaps out, clearly traumatized. And she's been in there for a while. There are bite marks on the inside of the drawer where she's been trying to get out. And sure, there could be some reasonable explanation generally for how a cat could be trapped in a drawer, but A. This is a drawer of only my clothes, which my boyfriend doesn't get into. And not only does he swear up and down that he didn't open it or close it that day, but he also loves a cat, is super sweet and gentle with her, and I cannot fathom any context in which he would intentionally shut her in a drawer. B. I do distinctly remember opening and closing the drawer that morning, many hours earlier, because I got a shirt out of it, and I distinctly do not recall my cat being in the drawer at any point during the 30 to 45 seconds I had it open, or when I was closing it. C. The drawer was full of clothes, and there was no room for the cat to have been somehow hidden next to the clothes in the drawer. D. The dresser does not have an open bottom or back through which the cat could have climbed into an already closed drawer. I spent a couple hours trying to figure out how the hell this happened, because again, I distinctly remember closing the drawer that morning and the cat not being in it, and it was tight in there for her. I would have had to have smashed her down on top of the clothes to close the drawer smoothly. The drawer wasn't open long enough for her to have somehow made a nest in the clothes and fallen asleep, and she is a jumpy cat. If she were in a drawer I absentmindedly tried to close on her, she would have flipped out. Literally, the only way I can see that it would have been possible for her to get in there under the normal laws of physics would have been if someone intentionally shut her in which case they would have had to hold her down while shutting the drawer, and she would not have been compliant with the situation. But there's no way in hell either I or my boyfriend would do that to her. She's the sweetest little thing, but she gets scared really easily, and we both constantly do everything we can to make her feel safe and secure, so she can enjoy being with us. So I guess she teleported there at some point? Either that, or one of us had a momentary psychotic break that has never reoccurred. Case file number 3482, written by Nuke the Nerd. We shouldn't have followed the signs. This was maybe 15 years ago, and it was just a day trip from New York City, where our company was located. Plus, I wasn't driving or navigating as my coworker had been out there to the job several times before. We were working a job about 15 miles away, and on our way there, we followed signs on the road about hot food that led us to a place that felt unbelievably surreal. We got there around maybe 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. on a weekday. The community had this big black iron gate with forest on either side, but I could see that the community was completely open, no trees in there at all, just surrounded by trees. There was a sign for hot food with an arrow pointing in. That's all it said, hot food. We had noticed a couple of other signs directing people there back on the road, so we figured it would be a good place to get a bite after our drive from the city, before we went to the job. As we drove in, we had to go around this circle right near the entrance, and there were all these little kids in dress clothes, little suits and white dresses, basically frolicking around and throwing flowers in the air. One kid watched us as we drove by, but the rest paid us no mind. I thought it was a bit unusual, but didn't really see anything too creepy about it. I mostly wondered why they weren't in school and why they were so dressed up, which could have been for a million reasons. We drove through, and it was just nice, normal houses with normal cars in the driveways. But oddly, there were all these statues everywhere, in people's yards and on the side of the road, sort of like Greco-Roman type deals but painted. Again, interesting, but not too weird or anything. I figured it was some quirk of the community. There were more signs for hot food, so we kept following them, and they led us to a sort of cul-de-sac. As we approached, I could see a diner with a parking lot off to its side, and a ways behind it there was a large wooden church with a big white cross on top and a massive tree next to it. The only tree I remember seeing in the community. There was no way to drive to the church though. There were also some more statues around the diner. I thought nothing of it, honestly. We parked and went into the diner, and this is where it got really weird. We walked in, and you could feel the whole atmosphere shift like someone had flipped a switch. The diner was full of people, and they all, and I mean all, swung around and stared at us. This wasn't people all noticing someone coming in and going back about their business. It was an entire diner full of people looking at us with blank expressions as if they were waiting to see what our next move was. And they were all dressed up, just like the kids. I was definitely weirded out now. We walked up to the counter still, sort of apprehensively, and it felt like someone flipped a switch again, and everyone in the diner started talking amongst themselves again. I think we both sort of instinctively felt that maybe we shouldn't hang around, because instead of ordering meals, we both ordered a slice of pizza. They had a few pies on the counter, and it was just something quick for us to get. We had exchanged a look when we got to the counter, and it was just the obvious move. The woman behind the counter looked like she had seen a ghost as we ordered. She was sweating and very nervous, fumbling her words and stuff. She told us it would be a minute or two, so we sat down at the counter, and she went to the back with our 2 slices, presumably to heat them up. I'm from New York City, so it felt odd to me that the pizza oven wasn't where I could see it, but maybe that's normal here, I don't know. As we were sitting there, I kept noticing people eyeballing us. I met a couple pairs of eyes and they just immediately looked away. I'm not one to keep looking at people when they're clocking me like that, unless, of course, it's a woman that I find attractive, in which case my go-to is a goofy face. So I just resolved to make very uncomfortable small talk with my coworker. After a minute, we heard some really aggravated low whispers coming from what was obviously a man in the back chastising the woman who took our order. She suddenly came out with 2 charred slices of pizza and a look of absolute horror on her face. She told us it would just be a minute as she had to heat up 2 different slices for us, but that we could have those 2 for free if we wanted them. She was apologizing profusely, like way more than normal. I felt bad for her, so I said we'd take them and thanked her. She went to the back, and then from behind me, I heard someone huffing and puffing and saw this huge, hulking guy in a 3-piece suit walk behind the counter and into the back. There was some more really aggravated whispering, and finally, after a minute, she emerged again, suddenly looking totally at peace and chipper, with 2 extra slices of pizza. We asked her for a box, and she was over the top in how she responded and how she behaved while she was ringing us up. She practically danced while grabbing the box. I wondered if maybe there were twins working back there or something, because she seemed like a different person. We paid, and as we went to leave, suddenly a hush fell over the whole place again. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, I swear to God. We got out of there, got in the van, just looked at each other and basically in unison we're like, dude, what the hell was that? We figured we should just get out of there, so we went to drive out. On the way out, as we approached the entrance, all of those kids we had seen when we came in were no longer frolicking around the circle, but were instead all standing by the statues and watching us leave. Like one kid was standing next to a statue and watching us, then 30 feet away was another kid standing by a statue too, watching us as well. It was so creepy after the diner, and everything was suddenly 100 times more creepy in that context. None of them waved or anything. We got to the entrance and much to my horror, noticed the gate, which was wide open when we got there, was now closed. We drove up and were about to get out to try and open it when, out of nowhere, a guy in a suit came up to the van on my side. The windows were open already, and he just started asking us if we were there for the food, and where we were from, and where we were going, and all this stuff. We sort of shined him on and asked if he could open the gate as we had a job to get to. He obliged. We got out of there, and the entire day we kept going on over every detail of that place as we worked, and neither of us touched our pizza. It all got thrown out. The funny part is, it could have been all innocent. Probably was. The pizza was probably fine to eat. Nobody threatened us or looked angry or anything. The guy at the gate didn't try to keep us there. Nobody in the diner talked to us apart from the woman at the counter. But it was the atmosphere that was just so odd. I've never felt anything like it. We were definitely outsiders and everyone felt it. I didn't get the impression there was something truly distressing happening, like a robbery at the diner, apart from the woman behind the counter who definitely seemed in distress until she wasn't. I mean, maybe they had just some sort of trauma happen in the community, or a funeral? I don't know. They didn't look like they were dressed for a funeral, but who knows? I don't know. It's one of those things where you go back and forth. Was this all connected, or have I seen one too many movies? I guess I'll never know. Another odd thing too was that we didn't see any adults outside of the diner, and no children inside of it. That just seems like an extra oddity on top of the whole stack, thinking back. I just don't know. Okay, so my instincts are like you, split. Could this simply be a gated community that is very tight-knit? Everyone knows each other. Anyone that is new, they're apprehensive of. Yes, but it doesn't really fit with the signs. If you're that kind of community, why would you advertise your business and have people come in, and then the cashier's all confused and weirded out by you being there, talks to her manager in the back and now is all chipper and happy? And why give you 2 free slices of pizza? Now, I'm not saying the pizza is poisoned, but obviously that's what you suspected as well. It would be a very strange choice to just poison 2 people coming in because of your signs that you put up, advertising the business, and you just kill them? What? Or something else? Or is it like a cult thing where they're trying to kidnap people and it's not poison, but you just pass out, or it's like roofied pizzas or something? Other than that, I don't know what the community would be really about. Those statues are strange too, but yeah, maybe it is just a weird community and there's nothing truly movie horror going on about it. I can't say any more than that, but I can say I wouldn't have eaten the pizza either. And, for me not to eat food is, something really major has to be going on for that. Case file number 3483, written by Why Are Cats Squishy? Saws Without Sawdust. I had recently moved back to my parents' house. I was in a little apartment they had converted from part of the garage. It has its own entrance and is separated from the main house by the actual garage. I had access to this garage through a door at the back of my closet. My dad was a big handyman and was often found in the garage working on all sorts of projects. This particular day, I was in the apartment and heard him working there. I heard sawing, the sound of items clinking against the workbench, hammering, things like that. It went on for a while and was kind of distracting, so I thought I'd pop in to say hi and see what he was working on. The sounds naturally got louder as I approached the door, but as I opened the door, the best way I can describe what happened was that all sound seemed to swiftly get sucked into a vacuum. It ended up being more than quiet, if that makes sense. All the lights were off, the workbench was tidy, the main garage door was closed. I was shocked, but thought Dad must have somehow run back into the house. Except that when I went into the house, my mom was watching TV and my dad was asleep in the chair. My mom asked, "What on earth were you working on in the garage?" After I explained what I experienced, we were completely freaked out. Case file number 3484, written by Prairie Crab. Inventory error. In mid-December, I had 2 experiences in one day that were unexplainable to me. In the morning as I brushed my teeth, I knocked the clear plastic head cover off my toothbrush onto the floor. It bounced and clattered. As I finished brushing, I was looking all around the floor of my small bathroom and couldn't find it. Urgh. As I gave up and rinsed out my brush, a clear brush head cover fell from nowhere and clattered into the sink. It was another cap? But I picked it up and it's a brand new sparkling clean one, not the cloudy used one I dropped. I don't have any extra caps in the bathroom because I store new toothbrush heads in the hall closet and I don't have any shelves in the bathroom. I finally shrugged and said, "Thank you." I went to work at the end of the day. I was alone descending in the elevator when something dropped past my face, brushing my arm, and landed on the floor of the elevator. It was a green keychain tag with a label. I have a friend's house key on my ring with that tag, and I thought, oops, and picked it up. But my keyring still had its tag on it. Where could it have come from? It's a bare-bones empty elevator. The new key tag had a blank label on it instead of my labeled one, but was otherwise identical. Twice in one day, a new version of an item I had was dropped in front of me. Case file number 3485, written by Abbreviations Odd 862. Strangers from elementary school. I was in the cereal aisle, minding my own business, when this middle-aged woman walked up to me and said, "Oh my God, is that you, Blondie? You look exactly the same." She was smiling like we were old friends, but I have absolutely no memory of ever seeing this person before. The nickname she used was something only my immediate family called me when I was like 8 years old. I haven't heard anyone say that name in literally decades. When I told her I didn't recognize her, she looked confused and said, "Really? We went to the same elementary school." But even if she somehow went to school with me, students wouldn't have known this particular nickname. It was purely a home thing that my parents and siblings used. She kept insisting we knew each other and seemed genuinely baffled that I didn't remember her. I tried to be polite, but I was honestly getting scared about how she could possibly know this information because it had that same impossible odds feeling as when I heard that my friend had hit the jackpot I was chasing at Grizzly's Quest. Eventually I made an excuse and left, but I kept thinking about it. I'm racking my brain trying to figure out any scenario where a stranger could know this nickname. Did she know my family somehow, or was she a neighbor I forgot about and is there in some database of childhood nicknames floating around that I don't know about? I've never seen this person before in my life, and there's no way they could have known that name. Case file number 3486, written by Noradrenaline 76. An hour before goodbye. A few days ago, I was in a hospital visiting my grandmother. Just 1 hour before she passed away. I went out of the room for a moment, and I clearly saw at the end of the corridor my father, her son, and my mother talking with the nurse. My father was wearing his military green jacket and blue jeans, my mother a black jacket and a little ruffy hair, like as she came out urgently from home. I tried to make a gesture to get their attention, but they completely ignored me. I went back to the room to tell my grandma they were there, but she wasn't conscious, so I went to the end of the corridor to talk to my parents. As I arrived, my parents were not there, just my uncle, the brother of my father. I asked about my parents, and he said they were not there. In effect, they were not at the hospital. They were at home. I didn't understand because I couldn't mistake them for someone else. There were no other people, and even my uncle was a completely different person, taller, thinner, and much younger than my father, and with completely different clothes. Case file number 3487, written by Chicken Nugget 000. The Last Square. I was home alone, sitting in the bathroom doing my business and scrolling on my phone. Suddenly, I heard a strange noise. It sounded exactly like paper ripping. I got confused and looked around, and I saw the toilet paper roll hanging there with only the very last piece still attached, the one that's basically glued to the roll. The roll was spinning super slowly, and the paper was ripping off by itself. You could actually see it happening and hear it separating. It was a small bathroom with a broken ventilator and no windows, so there was no draft, and even if there was, it wouldn't be strong enough to rip it off like that. After I noticed it, the roll suddenly started shaking violently on the holder. I just stared at it, completely confused, trying to understand what was happening. Then I realized I'm holding my phone, so I should record it, and the second I opened my camera, it stopped. But the way it stopped was so sudden and aggressive, like someone grabbed it and it froze. I didn't even manage to point my phone at it. I wasn't scared at all, just very surprised and again, still confused. I was so surprised that I forgot to realize I had just run out of toilet paper too. Case file number 3488, written by Box Fan Man. The Last Ride from Penn Station. We had a flight into JFK and it arrived at 11 p.m. and we had a train at Penn Station that left at 11:55. I can't remember the exact specifics on the time, but you get the idea. We were in a time crunch. So we got a cab to Penn Station, get on our train, and we wait and wait for 3 hours until they cancel it. There's some obstruction on the tracks in New Jersey. So we say to hell with it and get an Uber home. We get an Uber and it's like an hour drive to our house from New York. And the Uber driver is kind of weird. Semi-talkative, but looking back in the mirror to chat with me while my wife sleeps. The conversation pivots into paranormal stuff. Aliens, planets, ghosts, etc. My wife wakes up during this time and texts me that the dude is weird. I agree. We get close to our house and we just tell him to drop us off at the corner. He does. And when we're getting out, he looks back into the mirror at me and says, "Be careful out there, there's lots of weirdos," and blinks sideways. Like a second set of eyelids that are vertical, thick and vertical. I mean, it could have been me being tired, but I slept on the flight back and was awake for this. I can't explain that. Anyone else get Men in Black vibes from this? I think it's the first movie, if I'm recalling, where Will Smith, I forgot his actual character's name, but he's chasing this first alien up a building, and then the alien jumps off. Before that, he blinks vertical eye slits. Now often, fiction borrows from reality. Now I'm not saying this is a fictional story, I'm saying they often mesh together, so maybe Men in Black borrowed from folk tales or stuff like this. This is the first time I'm hearing about a vertical eye slit creature or alien. I don't know if that's what it is, or if indeed this person was just simply tired and didn't see properly. Because the man was creepy, his mind filled in the gaps, you could say. Could be. But I just think it's interesting that Men in Black could relate so much to a story like this. Case file number 3489, written by Elreen87. A Drink with the Devil. Years ago, my husband and I went to have a few drinks at a restaurant with a bar. As we sat together, a man walked in, and I swear everything went quiet. He was tall with white hair, beautiful blue eyes, and he was wearing all black, very well dressed. He sits down near us and orders a drink. My husband and I both noticed how all the women were talking to him. About 3 women got up to sit by him. My husband even made the comment, "Big pimping." After a bit, puts his hand up and says something to the woman next to him, then turns back, looks in our direction, raises his glass, then turns around. My husband and I look at each other confused and just chuckle. We left soon after, but here comes the scary part. As we leave the restaurant to our vehicle that's parked directly in front of the entrance, this man follows us, stands in front of my car, lights a cigar, and looks me dead in the face and says, "Have a good day, Irene. It was nice to see you again." How the hell does this man know my name? I have never met him a day in my life. I go completely chill and scared crapless. My husband looks at me and notices how scared I look. We couldn't get out of there fast enough. I swear it was Lucifer himself. That's what they say, that the devil would be a charming person. He would be extremely attractive. Reminds me of the movie Bedazzled, where the devil in this case is a woman, but again, very attractive. That's the whole point. It's seductive, to lure you in. The whole point of the devil allegory is about your choices, right? Free will, and what you do with your own choices, even when you're tempted. Now, there are things that I can be tempted in and I have no willpower over, like snacks and food. If the devil tempts me with that, I'm done. But in terms of actual nefarious actions, being tempted to cheat or lie or steal or serious violations, that I just am not tempted by. But it's still your own choice, and that is the point. The devil isn't a maniac killer out to get you that looks all gruesome and disheveled. No, the devil is pure temptation, trying to get you to destroy your own life and soul, which I just think is a very interesting way to frame a story. Now, again, if it's true or not, it doesn't matter. The moral point is true, no matter what. And yeah, to the story of him knowing your name, I don't know if this really was the devil, but him knowing information, that's just creepy. And obviously looking like a very attractive man, not the typical kind of person you'd think of as a stalker or something, although I guess serial killers sometimes are attractive, which is part of their disarming charm. Be cautious, keep your eyes out. Maybe this was the devil or not. In fact, oddly, it would be better if it is, because again, the devil isn't out to attack you, just tempt you. So, if it's just a normal human being, that might be worse. Weird to say, but it's true. Now time for the jokes of the day. My son has finally surpassed his mom in height. Standing next to her, she said to him, "You're 6 inches taller than me." To which he replied, "If you think that's 6 inches, Dad's been lying to you." Can't recover ever from that, can you? Why do actors say break a leg instead of good luck? Well, if you break a leg before auditioning for a role, you get casted. As I handed my dear dad his 65th birthday card, he looked up at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Son, one would have been enough." Hiking in your 40s is a great way to meet new people. Today I met 2 paramedics, 3 nurses, a cardiologist, and nearly met my maker. Got the whole party assembled. Math teacher says, 50% of the class have failed the recent test. Pupil and student from back row replies, "We're not even that many in this whole class." Video up here. YouTube thinks you'll like it. Check it out. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I'll see you next time.